Hey, homebodies, Ashley here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to take a quick moment to share with you a new company that I have joined, and I am super excited to share more about it with you. KINS is Physical Therapy Reimagined. It is an all inclusive physical therapy app designed for convenience. Through the KINS app or their website, kins.com, you can check your insurance eligibility. Yes, KINS is in network with most major insurance companies. And you can enter a bit about the problem that you're currently experiencing and then get matched with an expert physical therapy provider. You can even book your first appointment online. Your appointments can be done 100% virtually from the comfort of your own home and will include one-on-one video appointments with a physical therapist and access to a personalized library of exercises, in addition to in-app messaging where you can ask your physical therapist questions at any time. If you aren't familiar with me and my background, I am a physical therapist with over 10 years of experience and specialize in geriatrics, chronic pain, and pelvic health. KINS Virtual Care is especially designed for those experiencing pelvic health concerns, including pregnancy-related pain, birth prep, postpartum care, bowel and bladder issues, pelvic pain, and many more. And if you're wondering if virtual pelvic health physical therapy can actually help, the answer is yes. Recent research has shown that virtual care for pelvic health can be just as effective as in-person care for a variety of conditions. And if you end up needing a referral for an in-person provider, we are happy to help you out with that. If you live anywhere in Massachusetts, you can ask for me, Ashley Drake, and a KINS representative will set you up with an initial visit where we will do a deep dive into your story, your medical background, and then we will come up with a treatment plan that works for you. Hope to see you there. Now on to the episode. Welcome to Haunted Homebodies, where Halloween isn't just a day, it's a lifestyle. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sarah, and we're your guides through the delightfully dark corners of comfort horror.
Grab your slippers and your snacks.
It's time to hunt for treasure. Ashley, we're going to talk about a very adventurous movie today, which got me thinking about the name of our podcast, which we have not really fully dove into.
Oof.
Have not fully dived
Divined.
into.
Divined into.
Anyway, we're called the Haunted Homebodies, and I feel like the haunted part, you guys get the vibe, but the homebodies, we haven't really discussed that part of our personalities yet.
No, it's true. Do you think you've always identified as a homebody? 'Cause I don't know if I always saw you as one. I don't think you really were growing up.
No, I was like desperate to have plans all the time, every weekend, through grad school-ish age, and then like a switch flipped.
This is going to be a long episode.
It's gonna be a struggle.
Oh, yeah.
I feel as though I spent the majority of my life's supply of social and adventure energy early on in my life, and now I love my home. I love what I can do in my home. I love being at home.
Do you think that's from owning a home, or do you think that's just like a thing that has changed as you've gotten older?
Oh no, I became a homebody a solid decade before I owned a home. Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so where
Yeah.
were you living when when the switch flipped?
I still don't actually know which one it's supposed to be. I'm losing it.
I did not help you with that little.
No.
I'm like gaslighting your commentary. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I didn't say anything wrong.
They both sound right. Switch flipped. It's a switch. The switch is the noun. Oh no.
Yeah.
I was still living in Louisiana at the time, for sure. And then I think living in New York, which should have been such an exciting time. I definitely started that like hardcore level.
So interesting. So you can't like pinpoint necessarily any event or like living situation or new hobby. It was just all of a sudden like home is where the heart is.
It very well could have been starting to work full time for the first time and being exhausted. And I worked in recruiting, so like my whole job was constantly talking to people. That could have been it.
Yeah.
Now that I
Do you
think
think
about it.
do you think you're a homebody or like are you just tired?
Actually, there are so many questions about my life that I would like to reflect on through that lens.
Are you just burnt out?
Yes,
Are we gonna have to like
probably.
you'll take like a couple months off work and then you're just like we have to change the name of the podcast.
It'll change my life. That's possible. But like I love my garden. I love
Yeah.
my cats. I love cooking. Like I genuinely like enjoy the act of cooking. I mean, I outside of being social with people, which like I do still enjoy sometimes. I don't think there's anything outside of the house that like I just feel that drawn to. That's not true. I have to cut some of this. I'm just gonna be like, who did I marry? Like I like hiking and stuff. I get out of the house. Anyway,
Well, I mean, it's not about like being a homebody isn't that like you're a hermit and that you don't leave your home, right? It's
yeah.
the appreciation and the comfort of being home. And I think it's not just the personality. Like I'm definitely, I would say a little more introverted than you, and I've always been a bit more of a homebody and a bit of a loner. But it's, I don't know. I think it's more of like a lifestyle, a vibe, and then totally just a like
Yeah.
I don't want to go out and like be with the people. It's just about that like cozy movie night in and having friends over your house, hosting a dinner
Yeah.
party. It's not necessarily antisocial. It's just like nesting. It's like about nesting for me, I think.
That is such a good point. Having people over to my house is my favorite social activity. And actually, when I was living in Louisiana with my friend Zach, we had this house and it was like the place that our friends gathered. And I remember knowing then that like that was very special. Like at one point, like people would just come over without even telling us, which I know sounds like a nightmare, but like within this particular group of friends, it was so lovely to have that. I miss that.
Oh, that's so cute. That's like Friends. Like you were Monica's apartment,
Exactly.
and it was like probably
Yes.
occasionally invasive, but mostly just like really warm, cozy, family-like. I'm just thinking of the actual show Friends, where just like Joey will be there, like eating their like rotisserie chicken. And they're like, it's 11 p.m. Like, get out of our home.
My friends were more considerate than that, thankfully. Yes,
Fair
this
enough.
was always a delight.
Yeah.
Always.
And you
Yeah.
are an incredible host. I think like that
Thank
is
you.
one of your I almost said finer qualities, but then I was like, wait, is that like one of your finer qualities? I think that's fair to say. You have a lot
I
of
would
great
love
qualities,
that.
which is why I hesitate, but you have this like lovely maternal energy. Like I feel like you're the mom of the friend group a lot. Like you're just kind of like
Cute.
nurturing everyone, taking care of everyone, making sure that they have like a fun drink and a snack and a cozy blanket. And like you are just like the goddess of haunted homebodies.
Well, thank you so much. And let me say, you were an excellent guest, and it made it so easy to be a good host. You were,
Oh
you
my
were a
goodness.
delight.
I am, I think, a pretty good guest. Host, I struggle with more. I am like the baby. I'm like the baby of the group where I'm like, drive me here and bring me to the McDonald's drive-thru and buy me a French fry. Don't make me order. You have to order for me. Can you come tuck me in? I've never made you tuck
I'm
me
here
in,
for
but
it. No, but I did pick like all of our restaurants on our road trip. This is true. No.
you were like, how can I help you? And I was like, don't
Just
have me make a single decision.
That was just because
Please.
you were tired. You had weeks of having to make those decisions.
I don't
on
like
your
making
own.
decisions either, though. That's not my strong suit. Like my favorite kind of friend is like a decisive person who is like, I want what I want and this is it. And I'm just like, sure. Like, I'm the go with the flow gal.
The first time I heard the term decision fatigue
Ugh, yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and vulnerability fatigue. Maybe we are just tired.
Oh.
Remember I was telling you about vulnerability fatigue the other day? Because I just was like, oh, I'm
Yes.
just like this podcast, I'm being vulnerable. I just had to like quit my new business and being vulnerable, making this big career pivot, being vulnerable. And I'm just like, I have frizzy hair, being vulnerable.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. Like we're just tired. We are the haunted tired homebodies. Oh
We're
gosh.
haunted by tiredness.
Haunted by
exhaustion.
chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
It's a clinical condition. I have it. Okay, folks.
Oh no. Oh no.
We're trying our best here.
So Ashley, what was your obsessed with ancient Egypt phase like as a child? I'm assuming that you had one because I'm pretty sure we all had one at some point.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that it was like why I took Latin as a course.
Interesting.
I'm not sure though. Like I think it wasn't just ancient Egyptian, it was like mythology in general, like Greek and Roman mythology. And so I think somewhere I was planning on going to medical school, did not follow through with that, thank God. But I'd
Yeah.
also heard somewhere that like, oh, like if you take Latin, it'll help you with medical terminology. Kind of true. But like also, did you take Latin?
I did not. I took Spanish.
Right. Okay. I was like,
Yeah.
like spiritually, you were there with me watching The Gladiator in Latin. But I guess you weren't
I
really there.
appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, we watched The Gladiator in Latin class. I had never seen it, and I cried. I cried at the end of the movie. It's
really
such a
fair.
tragic ending, and I was like, I'm crying at school. I'm crying in high school. This is happening. Like, what do I do? Like, like now I'm just, I cry all the time, but in high school, you're like, this is not okay.
That's not the setting.
It's not the vibe.
Gladiator, I mean, it's devastating. That's really fair.
Such a good movie. Mm-hmm. I love that movie, but I don't know. Tell me about you're obsessed with ancient Egypt phase.
I don't even remember like that many details. I just remember like we covered it in school, like maybe it was like end of elementary school or maybe it was middle school. And like I remember doing the projects, like I remember making this like really terrible clay King Tut mask thing. But then I remember like not being ready to let it go when we were done with that in school and like
Yeah.
like buying books and like doing whatever research I had available at that age, given the internet was not what it is today. But I needed more.
Oh yeah, I think you're reminding me of do you remember the Dear America, those like diary books?
Yes.
There was the Cleopatra one. It had like the
Ooh.
gold binding, and I think that was my favorite one. And then I dressed up as Cleopatra for Halloween or maybe for school. I don't remember, but I remember having like a crown with like a snake coming off of it, like made out of cardboard. And I had the whole robe, and of course was like I'd never wore makeup until I don't know, like maybe a little bit in college. And I did like the eyeliner,
Ooh.
like the Cleopatra eyeliner with the wing. She was so ahead of her time, so trendy.
I'm still obsessed, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not obsessed. Well, I wouldn't say obsessed, but does it cross my mind from time to time? Do I remember the good old days of
Yeah.
dressing up like Cleopatra and watching and crying about Gladiator in high school? Sure do. Sure do. That's a core memory for sure.
Well, that explains at least some of my incredibly positive feelings with the movie that we're talking about today, which is The Mummy, the 1999 version of The Mummy. To be very clear, we shall not be talking about the 2017 version of The Mummy.
They rebooted this?
Yes, with Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah. I wiped that from my memory. I was like, I do not accept, I will not watch. And apparently, literally just cleared it out of my mind.
That was really well done on your part. Well
Did
done,
you watch it?
actually. No, and I refuse.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
Well,
will watch the terrible Mummy sequels, but
How
I will
many of
not
them?
watch.
I remember there being a Mummy 2. I don't remember anything about it. Was there another?
Yes, there was a third, and then of course there is the Scorpion King spinoff.
Well, that is a whole nother story. And you know that you love The Mummy. I used to love The Mummy. I'm a little bit lukewarm on it, but The Scorpion King legit was like maybe my favorite movie growing up. It's so embarrassing.
Had a feeling. I mean, okay,
Wait,
it was
why? Why did you have a feeling?
it's The Rock.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
and
Yeah,
The
that's pretty
Mummy
much why.
2
Yeah.
was his first movie. That was his
Yeah.
first ever movie in which he played the Scorpion King. And
Right.
then moved
That's
on.
right. Okay. They introduce him in that, but it's kind of like a lore or like backstory to something, right? And then he
Yeah.
has his whole story in The Scorpion King.
Exactly. Which, have you watched that recently?
Yes.
We watched it like during COVID. That was a trip.
Yes. Did I enjoy it? Oh, you're gonna be so mad. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed The Mummy, rewatching The Mummy.
I accept that. That's okay.
Okay. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So-
I think it's really funny. And it's not supposed to be, but I love it.
The way I described it to Evan when we rewatched it a few years ago was that it was very clearly a movie made with one purpose. And that purpose was to have a professional wrestler star in a movie.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. I really don't have any like critical feedback or anything else to say about it. Like we've got to end it there.
Okay, so let's move on to the topic at hand, and we'll move quickly through because we have some goofy stuff to talk about.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so The Mummy, the correct version, was released on May 4th, 1999, which means this is releasing right around the time of its 26th anniversary, 1999. Phenomenal year for movies, by the way.
Good year, good year.
Great year. Maybe the best of our lives. We can get into that some other day.
Yeah.
It's rated a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 89% of Google users liked it. Obviously.
That's a lot. That's a lot of Google users.
It is. I could not find this streaming on any of the regular services except to rent.
Yeah, I had to rent it. This is my
Yeah.
first rental of Haunted Homebodies.
Yeah. So, worth it, but,
You don't own
just
it.
be
Wait,
ready
you
for
don't
that.
really own any movies right anymore, right?
I don't have a DVD player in my home.
I'm a big physical media gal. I'm actually in the market for a VHS player and did just purchase my first VHS ever. Can you guess what it is?
Is it Scream?
No.
What is it?
It's Joyride.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Oh no, so hopefully I can find a VHS player in time for our episode 9, which will be coming out in a month.
Do I need to buy a plane ticket to Maine for like 2 weeks from now to watch that with you on VHS?
Like on my like 70-inch flat screen with this like tiny crackly. I feel like I need to buy like a teeny like miniature old TV just to like fully embrace the experience, you know?
That is possible.
Like I want to not be able to really see it. Like I want the opposite of HD. Like I want like grainy, gritty, like skippy, you know? I want it all.
You want to feel the movie the way we used to.
I do. Right? It's gonna be so nostalgic. I'll FaceTime you when I'm setting it up at
Please.
least. You know,
Please
just so you can
do.
see like me put the VHS into the slot.
And this also needs to be a whole reel that you make, by the way.
Oh, I should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And everyone at the end, everyone's gonna be like, Joyride? Really? That was what it was.
I feel like more people are going to be like, yes, Joyride. Like, I think people respect Joyride. I think in general,
Okay.
it's a like underrated gem in the horror community. Like, people aren't being like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever, but there are people who are saying like, why aren't we talking about this more and appreciating this more?
Well,
And like, is it just me?
buckle up.
Is this like the reel where that like the camera reverses and you're just like, oh, it's just me saying this? But no, I did read that somewhere, so at least one other person feels that way.
Fantastic. I
Right?
can't wait for that experience for you on VHS. You better
It's
face
gonna be
me.
great.
So you had to rent this movie, and
did.
it's not a current favorite of yours.
It's not. You know, I would have said pretty easily that this was in like my top rotation as like a preteen teen, and then sometimes it just like drifted off my radar. You know how movies do, and you just like remember them fondly, but you don't really watch them. And
Yeah.
then rewatching this movie, I was like, it's just too much. Like, I think the problem I have with it, and it's totally a personal preference thing, I think it's a really fun movie. I really like it in many ways, but it's too much action. Like, I find it very overstimulating. I can't do that like constant action. What's
So
another word for action?
I did find myself in this rewatch just like tuning out for those pieces, which is great for a comfort watch. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to care about what's happening in the plot. There's
Yeah.
nothing interesting. You guys shoot at each other for a while, and I'll be right back.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. I just like would need to put it on mute next time. Too noisy.
I will respect it. I will respect it.
Thank you.
And
That's very
So-
big of you.
so I sense a really interesting theme amongst all of the movies that we have watched so far, which is that they are all multi-genre, all like very clearly multi-genre. And this is absolutely no exception to that rule. I'm going to say maybe it has fewer genres than Practical Magic, only because it's a really high
That's all
bar.
of them. Yeah.
But one review wrote that it is a perfect blend of action, adventure, romance, horror, and comedy, which is a lot for one movie.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it has all of those elements. Elements. I don't disagree that it has all of those elements, at least to some degree. And
Yeah.
that does make it a fun little romp. But I think that also maybe does overwhelm me because like Practical Magic, I'm just like, I just need a minute to gather myself. What am I supposed to feel?
Yeah, it maybe makes you make that decision for yourself, and decision fatigue, man.
Ugh.
True.
true.
So this was originally going to be like more of a horror film. It was originally set out to be a reboot-ish of the 1932 Boris Karloff Mummy movie, which is like a
man.
classic horror film. And George A. Romero, who directed Night of the Living Dead, was originally attached to direct.
Oh, why didn't this happen? I had no idea. This would have been incredible. I know you're
All right.
very satisfied with the end product, but I really want this to happen.
So, skipping to present day, a Mummy reboot of some sort is happening with a horror director attached, Lee Cronin, who is involved with one of the Evil Dead movies
Okay.
at some point.
Okay.
So your wish may be coming true.
Okay, now that my wish is coming true. I'm a little scared. I wish that it had happened originally that way. Personally, like that just sounds so fun.
Okay.
But you know how, I mean, we both feel the same way about like reboots and requels. They're so risky.
Yeah,
They're
they're
so
rarely.
risky. But if this will
Rarely
be
what I
different
want them to
enough,
be.
or if they're like really leaning into the horror, I think that's an interesting concept to have like an ancient Egyptian horror movie.
I'm with you. I will remain open to it and not excited. like usual.
Yes.
It's the
Sarah
only
frowning
safe
in
way
the-
to go into
the front
this
row of the movie theater. Can't wait.
till I'm proven wrong.
I have a really important, very quick sidebar question for you.
Yes.
So we are covering Final Destination in 2 episodes. And we're timing it that way because another sequel is coming out. Are you planning on seeing it in theaters?
Probably because we now host a horror podcast, so I think I'm obligated to do so.
Okay. That wasn't a question. That was like more of an instruction. Like, so let me know what you think after seeing it in theaters. I myself will. So the thing I do now as an adult, I said this would be a quick sidebar, and here I go. The thing I do as an adult, and then I will continue to have to do now that I have a child and don't have consistent childcare, is I go to see horror movies because that's the only thing I see in theaters. I go to see them alone. I'm that person.
Maybe we could like go at the same time.
Oh, that would be so cute. I don't know why, but that just like warms my
Me
cold
too.
dark heart.
Me
Okay,
too.
we're totally doing that. We're gonna try our
Okay.
best. If we can find
Okay,
time to
yeah.
record at the same time, then
We can go to the movies.
Okay, that's great.
And
then
I like going to the movies on my own. I
yeah,
think it's
we
kinda
could
fun.
maybe, if like this is in a perfect world, you know, where we have endless time because like, obviously we have so much time. We could like hop on a quick call after and do like a little either like a little spoiler free review or something.
I think that would be adorable. I think we have to do it.
Oh, perfect. Anyway, get
Great.
back to the mummy.
Okay. Last little thing before we get into the recap. It was just too perfect not to read. On Rotten Tomatoes, they have that like critic consensus. It's like a summary of all the feedback, and it said, "It's difficult to make a persuasive argument for The Mummy as any kind of meaningful cinematic achievement, but it's undeniably fun to watch." And I just,
Yeah.
that's it. That's The Mummy.
I
That's
totally
The Mummy,
agree.
and I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I just am like a little overstimulated sometimes. I think if I had watched it in a different mood, I could have had a totally different opinion about it.
That is fair.
But I totally think it's fun. I had a good time. I did enjoy myself, for the record.
Glad. I'm glad.
I did not put a single movie on our list of like over 100 movies for us to recap on this podcast that I did not like to some degree. Like, we are not going to be talking about anything that we truly dislike.
No, that would be miserable. That's not what we're
Right?
about here.
No. If we rewatch something and we're like, that was terrible, then we're just not going to talk about it.
I think so. We came close with The Craft, but there's plenty to.
We
there's plenty
did, but
to
there
appreciate.
a lot that we liked, a lot that we didn't
Yeah.
like. It was a mixed bag. And
Yeah, it
you know,
deserved the discussion.
It did.
Yeah.
100%. All right, so why don't you recap this movie for us?
And we're going to fly through this because you know what? Plot here, fairly unimportant, and you've had
Yeah.
26 years to watch it. So
Give us the bullet points.
we start in ancient Egypt. There's a high priest whose name is Imhotep. He has an affair with the pharaoh's mistress, who has this great name that give me a shot at this. Anksunamun.
I
That's
feel
not
like they say
quite
like
how they say it.
Anoxunamun.
It's always right how it's spelled. It's like missing
Right?
a syllable. They say Anoxunamun is how they say
Yeah,
it.
they always are like.
Anoxunamun.
I thought her name was like Cinnamon Moon or something growing up. I remember thinking she was like the most beautiful, perfect person and was named after the moon. And I was like, she is the coolest
That's
woman
fair.
on earth.
She is the most beautiful, perfect woman. So whether or not she's named after the moon, she's a pretty great, and she's a badass.
Yeah.
So anyway, the affair is discovered. She kills herself, and the whole plan was for Imhotep to resurrect her using the Book of the Dead, but he's stopped before completing the ritual. He's punished for that with like this super extreme curse. He is mummified alive and buried with flesh-eating scarabs, doomed to eternal torment if he's ever awakened. It's
That is
dramatic.
the most horrific thing on like our horror podcast
God.
that's ever happened.
Like, Truly. And this
Disgusting.
movie is like more of a comedy than anything else, and horrifying. We're going to come back to those scarabs. All right. So then we jump to what is the present day of the movie, which is actually the 1920s. Although, let me tell you how many people on the internet are like, it took me years to realize that that did not take place in actual present day.
I had no idea. I learned that just now.
1920s.
Okay, sure.
So,
Sure.
there's a former soldier slash adventurer. Like, this guy is just out there for a good time, which he like literally says. His name is Rick O'Connell, and he is played by the truly amazing Brendan Fraser in his prime. Love him. He's like trying to find some treasure. He tries to get into the city called Hamunaptra. I think I got that one. But there are these people who are guarding it because that's where Imhotep was buried. They don't want him awakened. So he like survives that, but then gets locked up. Meanwhile, we meet Evelyn, Evie, and her brother. Evelyn is played by Rachel Weisz, a very young Rachel Weisz, with really amazing 1990s pencil thin eyebrows, which apparently were all the rage in the 1920s.
It's so true. I did know that.
See where the confusion is.
There you go.
Yep. So she's a librarian. Her brother and her are just like rich, and they've got family who, you know, support archaeology adventures or something. So they convince Rick to guide them to Hamunaptra, which is called the Lost City of the Dead, because she finds a map and they want to see what's there. And she's trying to prove herself as this like plucky librarian. So then there's also these really annoying Americans, classic, who are kind of like they're competing treasure hunters. And, you know, there's banter, there's competition, there's a race through the desert on horses and camels. But eventually they accidentally unleash Imhotep. Somebody opened his sarcophagus.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, he like comes out super scary and really appropriate 1990s CGI. I know in a previous episode, you talked about how you don't love the super realistic CGI, and I feel like this is like good but not super realistic CGI.
Yeah, agreed.
It
I
hits
love
the
it.
spot.
It's so good.
So he starts to regenerate. He literally takes the eyes and tongue of one of the Americans. It's like brutal. This movie is like brutal in a lot of ways.
Truly.
Eventually he kills him and takes all his organs. And then he's back and he starts bringing some plagues, like just like the Bible. There's boils, locusts, rivers of blood. And he tries to resurrect Anaxamun, but he like thinks Evie is Anaxamun / needs to use her as a sacrifice. It's like, you know, goes back and forth on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rick, Evie, and Jonathan, the brother, ally with the group that was originally protecting the tomb. We were trying to make sure this didn't happen. And they race to find the Book of Amun-Ra, the counterpart to the Book of the Dead, which is the only thing that can stop Imhotep. There's this big dramatic final showdown back in Hamunaptra. Evie reads from the book. She makes Imhotep mortal again. Rick is able to kill him. He just stabs him. And the group escapes, just as the whole entire ancient city collapses. They survive. They snag a little bit of treasure on their way out. And Rick and Evie, who have just been flirting up a storm this whole time, get their big kiss. And it's obvious that they're together. And they have just had incredible, ridiculous amounts of chemistry this whole movie. So that is like a well-earned payoff at the end.
Yes, it's just a romantic movie. It's the romance, really, at its core.
It is the romance for me. So speaking of things on the internet, there are so many references to this movie being people's bisexual awakening.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz in 1999. Like,
Did you actually see the note I added? Where is it? I
wait,
gotta read it
no,
for you.
I have not
That's
read through your
so
notes.
funny. Okay. So you're talking about lasting pop culture impact of the movie, and I said that I remember coming across a meme that is like a picture of different cast members, and it just said, "My sexual orientation is the cast of The Mummy 1999."
Same.
Oh, like it was, so I think it was Rick, Evie. It was the leader of what was the group? He had like the
The
tattoos underneath
Medjai.
his
Oh,
eyes.
yes.
It was the mummy with skin back on,
Oh, yeah.
Imhotep.
Yeah.
And then Anaxuna Moon, I think. It was just all of them.
It's such a good point. Also, I was reflecting. I feel like I seem very thirsty on this podcast, but we have
Same.
just been watching a lot of movies with really attractive people.
I totally agree. I'm like every single episode, I'm like hot.
Yeah.
Everyone's
it's-
hot. I'm
Yeah.
like, this isn't really either of our personality.
No, it's like it's really not.
Funny.
But you know what? Like these all go back to previous years of our lives too, when like I think we were a little boy crazy, and
Totally.
like it was had
We were like
posters on our
awkward
walls
13-year-olds, and we're just like
exactly.
watching all these like hot people do hot things. And we're
Yeah.
just like, this is
It brings
great.
us
It just
back.
it sticks with you, you know? It's
Yeah.
in your bones.
Yes, it really does. Well, I love that. That is such an accurate assessment of this movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen
It's
anyone
perfect.
discredit
No.
that, being like, yeah,
How-
they're fine.
How could you argue with it?
Right?
Okay, well, we talked about how many genres this movie covers. Were there any parts that you found that were actually scary or like truly horror-like?
Okay, well, horrified. I was horrified by this moment. And it's so dumb, but I have to tell you, I don't know why this bothered me so much, but when they originally find the key that has the map to this long lost treasure, they're just like grabbing it with their grubby little paws. They are just like, it's like an ancient artifact to treasure. And then whoever doofus Evie's boss, whoever he was, ends up like it catches on fire. Like it is, we are mistreating artifacts, and I am upset. I don't know why.
My sister-in-law is an archaeologist, and I should ask her opinion on this movie.
Like, shouldn't they have at least been wearing gloves?
Something. Yes.
Anyway, but no, I did find you discussed in the plot a couple of moments that were truly horrifying. Like the whole scene where Imhotep is consumed by the scarabs, and then his priests are mummified alive. I was convinced that this was just like happening all over ancient Egypt. They were just mummifying everybody. Like that was how you were killed.
That is a horrifying. Now, what I was convinced by was that these scarabs actually behaved like they show in the movie, and they like
Right.
crawl under people's skin. Like for years and years, I thought that was real life, and like if you came upon them, that was a possibility.
Yeah, they like don't even look like they do in the movie. They're just dung beetles who just like hang out and poop.
I know, and like
That's
I
it.
actually think dung beetles are adorable. Have you seen them in the nature shows where they're just like rolling giant pieces of poop along? It's so cute.
No, I have not, Sarah. But thank you for that imagery. The other moment that you did touch on that I thought was absolutely horrifying, and I can't believe we watched this as actual children, was the poor man who he falls and he drops his glasses. This is like Velma and Scooby-Doo, always dropping your glasses and then being like, help me, I can't find my glasses. And then stupid Benny steps on them and crushes them. And then the guy is literally stumbling around, can't see, and keeps saying, who's there? Who's there?
Oh.
Right before, oh yeah, right. He obviously didn't watch Scream. Right before getting his eyes and tongue taken out. And then he's just wandering about. He's somehow not bleeding out because there's some sort of like sorcery going on. But oh, grotesque.
Well, that may really color your response to this next question, but is the mummy like totally a villain? We talk about this a lot. Like, where do we draw the line? He's got a pretty dark backstory. Is
Yeah,
he
for
a
sure.
villain?
Growing up, I thought 1,000% yes. Like, through and through. There was nothing redeeming about him. Now I would love like a Mummy prequel or just like more of a prologue. Like, what's his story? Was the pharaoh a good guy? Was he like leading ancient Egypt to great times, or was he like an evil dictator who, was doing terrible things? Like, I need to know more before I can decide.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's insinuated that like Anck-su-namun does not want to be with the pharaoh, but she doesn't have a
Totally.
choice.
Right?
Which
Which,
is that?
yeah, seems like very pharaoh-like. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I didn't get a good vibe from the Pharaoh. I wasn't like rooting for him. I didn't really feel bad when he died.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I guess like here's the thing. Imhotep was cursed to like literally bring about these plagues if he was ever awakened. So like maybe it wasn't
True.
really his choice. I don't know.
He seemed to be having a good time though.
I mean,
I will
agree.
say,
he really leans in.
I will, right. I will say, I think there is one true villain of the movie.
Tell us, Ashley.
Benny.
But he's the worst.
Awful. Awful. Just across the board. Just disappointing little weenie throughout the entire film.
Weenie is perfect. He's
He is
so
such a
annoying.
weenie. Ugh, he's the worst. Nothing
Yeah.
redeeming about him.
No.
No,
No.
nothing.
Bye, Benny.
Yeah.
Bye.
R.I.P.
All
He almost
right.
got squished.
Really, really important question for you.
Yeah.
Who is the best character and why is it Winston Hadlock, who, to remind our listeners, is the retired, like, army general who we meet when he's like super drunk, but like hilariously drunk.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously, and he's just trying to relive the good old days. And like, he just wants one more adventure. And you know what? He gets that adventure, man. And he is up for the task.
Very cute. I think it's his whole look. It's like the goggles, the round goggles, and the cap, and he's just like kind of jolly. He's like
the
the Santa Claus of the
mustache.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's adorable. But
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was when you listed in the notes. And in my head, I assumed that it was Evie's brother, Jonathan, because I kind of loved him, and
He is
I love a
great.
goober. He's the
Yeah.
Dewey of this movie for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Fair
as good as
point.
Dewey. He's not as charming, but I love a goober. What can I say?
And honestly, Jonathan's little missteps through the movie move the plot forward on so many occasions. Like he is the most successful klutz of all time, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, it really does work out. But we've already talked about it a little bit, but I do just love Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm trying to think of like what my favorite Brendan Fraser movie would be, and it would probably be this one. But like I said, rewatching it back, Rick is just like a little too gun happy. He's literally shooting everything
It's so
all
true.
the time. He's shooting the Beatles, like thousands of Beatles. He's shooting them. Okay. He's shooting the undead. Like he is shooting things so often that Evie, while she's being held captive by the mummy, hears one single gunshot and says, "O'Connell." She just knows. Who else could it be?
Such a good
Everyone has
point.
guns in the movie, and she's like, "It must be him."
Oh, man. Oh, man.
But he's like a well-rounded character. Like he
Yeah.
apparently can memorize maps. Like, do you have intel on like why that is, or how impressive that is, or what?
Well, like,
They just
he
abandoned
had-
the treasure map.
He had been there before. Like, I feel like
Okay.
he's just familiar.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's just like
Yeah.
someone who knows how to get places. That's not me. I guess that's why I couldn't relate to that part of the movie.
Just had a general sense of direction.
Do not have that even a little bit. It's kind of a notorious trait of mine.
That's why you're a homebody, a successful
Yes.
homebody.
I tell people if it was not for Google Maps, I would be dead in a ditch so many times over. Like, I just wouldn't even bother.
You know, we learned to drive in the age of MapQuest.
It was a disaster.
Yeah. We made it out alive.
We
though.
didn't go very many places, though, to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Brendan Fraser really quickly.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite moments in this movie was when he first sees the mummy, and the mummy just like screams in his face, and Rick just screams right back at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a good one. It's a good one.
He's great. He's great. He's so lovable in everything. I just,
Yes.
he's one of those people where you just like assume he's a good guy, and like we haven't found out anything to the contrary, so we're just gonna
No.
go with that.
No. I think the opposite, actually.
That's true. That's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Love Brendan Fraser.
Big fans.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So I did want to talk about the lasting pop culture impact of this movie. Like, you're seeing memes about it online. And again, this movie came out 26 years ago. Have you ever seen one of the bumper stickers about the mummy in real life? They say, and it's just text, honk if you'd rather be watching the 1999 cinematic masterpiece, The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
I have not seen that, but I do love it. It's incredible. I hope to one day. I'll put it on my bucket list.
I did see one in real life before I knew these were a thing. I was in San Diego at the beach. A car had that bumper sticker, and I thought it was just the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh my gosh. I love it. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Well, any other thoughts on this movie before we wrap it up?
One of my all-time faves. I am so glad that I had an excuse to rewatch it, and I hope that this inspires some other listeners who may have not gone on to explore this in a while to give it another shot.
Yeah, I agree. It's worth a rewatch, and I'd be curious to see like whose team people end up on. If they're like you, or they are like the still hits, just like the first time I ever saw it, or if they're kind of like, it's fun.
Tell us
Let
about
us
it
know.
on social media.
Let us know. Someone talk to us, please.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a real request.
We're
Okay.
not desperate or anything. But... oh yeah, we would love to hear from people.
Yes.
Anywho,
thank
we're
you.
gonna play another little game. I cooked this up this afternoon, so it would say it's pretty quick, and pretty simple. So, you know that I like a good creative name for my games. This one's called Real or Not. Okay. So
Great.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to list some calling cards, some kind of nicknames of different Egyptian gods and goddesses. And I'm going to share more about a couple of them in a minute. But for now, I just want you to guess, is this nickname real or did I make it up? And we'll see if I can remember.
Okay.
All right. The first one is She Who Bathes in Blood. Real or not?
I'm gonna say real.
Nope, well, it might be, but I made that one up.
Okay. All right. That was a good one. That was a good
That's
one.
not real. The Devourer of the Dead.
Real.
It's real. That's
All
a real
right.
one.
All right.
Next one. Lord of Perfume.
This one must be real. Otherwise, like, what's happening in your brain?
I know, I kind of gave myself away on that one. Okay, yep, that is real. Next is Lord of the Hellcats.
Oh, I want it to be real so bad, but I'm gonna guess fake.
It is fake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made that one up just for you. That would be your goddess
Thank you.
nickname.
Yes.
All right, last but not least, He Who Dismembers.
I'm calling real.
That's real.
All
We did pretty
right.
good.
Thank you.
All hideous names.
Don't forget,
So-
I loved ancient Egypt.
Okay, that's it for today's Comfort Horror Recap. Sweet dreams, homebodies.
And now it's time for your bedtime story.
Okay. Sarah, we are going to be chatting about some of the cat gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt.
What a gift you've given me.
I know, this was very specifically chosen as the story topic just for you. We know that the Egyptians are obsessed with cats, right? Mm-hmm. Very obsessed with cats. The Mummy in many ways. We already discussed like scarabs, the mummification alive. Like they're taking a lot of liberties in terms of the reality of what went down in ancient Egypt. But we do know in real life they were very into cats. Many people think that they worshipped cats, and from what I could read, that wasn't exactly true. But you know, we weren't there. We don't really know. We know there's just like a lot of cat things going on. They mummified cats. Cats were buried with their owners. I read that people just really liked cats just for how practical they were. You know, they would scare off pests, and maybe that's it. They were companions. That was another thing.
Cute.
That was another thing they said. They're companions, you know, so a lot of people just want them, you know, their companion to come with them to the afterlife. I'm sure you can relate to that. What was she? She was a professor of anthropology. Her name was Monique Skidmore, and she was quoted in an article that was titled "How Cats Became Divine Symbols in Ancient Egypt." This is an article for history.com, and she said, quote, "Cats were not worshipped as gods themselves, but as vessels that the gods chose to inhabit and whose likeness gods chose to adopt." So basically, that was a very professory kind of
Very academic.
right? Oh, yeah, that's the word. Professory. But basically, she doesn't think that cats were worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, but she does think that gods used cats kind of as a vessel. So that's why they often were depicted as cats. And gods just like kind of wanted to look like them.
Fair.
You know, not just house cats, but also like, you know, the fierce jungle cats. Rawr. Like, rawr. Get it together. So, you know, we know that cats were a big deal just by the sheer number of ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses who were at least part cat, had the head of a cat, were wearing a cat pelt. I'm going to get into a few of them now. I don't know the pronunciation on these or like where to even begin to find out how you might say these names, so I'm just going to wing it. First up, we have Menhet, the war goddess. She carried such charming names as the slaughterer, the one who sacrifices, or she who massacres.
It's very metal.
That's it. That's all I'm going to tell you about her. I didn't write anything else. Then there is Amit, aka the devourer of the dead. She is described as more of a demon than a goddess, and was also described as having a very Frankenstein-esque composition. She had the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippo.
She sounds adorable.
Right? Cutie patootie. So, in Egyptian myth, once you died, you would have certain organs removed. We're pretty familiar. I feel like I have all this like residual ancient Egyptian knowledge, and I do remember like the organs being removed and kind of like a lot of weird details about mummification, like them picking the brains out of their noses. That was the thing.
Yeah. I mean, Evie also describes that in the movie, so maybe
Okay.
that's coming back to you fresh from that.
Okay. I remember sitting like in a classroom learning that like as a child, but anyway, I could be projecting here. So you have your organs removed, and in order to gain entrance to the underworld, if Amit did not find your goods satisfactory, so she's like, you're like trying to get in, here's my heart, and Amit will test it out. And she, if she didn't like it, she would just like devour your entire heart. And if you didn't bring that with you to the afterlife, then you just like had to wander about for all eternity, just
Ooh.
somewhere out
All
in the
right.
abyss.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was kind of tough, kind of tough, little demon cat, hippo, that crocodile. Next, we have Paquette, who was depicted as either a lion or a caracal. Is that how you say that?
No idea.
Caracal? It's a little cat thing out in
Cute.
the jungle. Out in the jungle. They are pretty cute, I think. She was associated with hunting, and she was known to wander through the darkness searching for her next victim to consume. I don't know what
They're
else she
all
did,
like
but
really intense.
Yeah, I think I mean, I picked them out particularly because I mean, gods and goddesses are generally like killing and eating each other and us, but yeah, I didn't have to like look far. But yes, I did try to pick out like horror cats, horror cat demon ladies and men, a couple men. Our last one is named Shezmu, which I always think of Shamu. I don't know.
Obviously.
Shezmu, the god of execution, slaughter, blood, and some other less terrifying things like wine, oils, and some sort of large Egyptian clothing press. I'm not really sure. Shezmu, of course, had some other nicknames like the Lord of Blood, the Slaughterer of Souls, Butcher of the Gods, and Shezmu is the one who is he who dismembers. Like, what a wild name.
Those do not fit the vibe of Shezmu.
Shezmu.
And Slaughterer of Souls, like, very different.
Agreed. So let me tell you a little bit more about Shezmu, because this, of all of them, was the one that I was the most fascinated by. So he was described as having the head of a lion, and his likeness was frequently carved into the walls of perfumeries. He was like a perfume god.
Sure.
So, yeah, right? So clearly Shezmu was complex. He wasn't all blood and guts. He was kind of one of these like Jekyll Hyde, Smeagol Gollum kind of
Sure.
characters. He had range, okay? So he, in my opinion, was also an early horror icon. He was known to walk around with a butcher knife in each hand. There's like pictures of this. And these knives weren't just for show. He wasn't just trying to scare you. He would use them literally to dismember anyone who wronged him, okay? Dismember. He who dismembers. Let's remember that nickname.
The original
And
slasher.
totally. And when he wasn't using his butcher knives, he would just rip your head off with his bare hands, because he was so buff. He would put your puny little head into his little clothing press, squeeze out your juice, for a little drinky drink for later.
That's
Sorry about that.
incredible.
Okay, that's it for today's episode. You're welcome.
Well, on that incredibly graphic note,
Yeah.
what are we talking about next week?
Sarah, next week's episode will be creepy and kooky. We are talking about the Addams Family.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Homebodies. And if you're back again for another slumber party, we're so glad to have you.
If you haven't already, please take a quick minute to leave us a review and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And also follow us on our haunted social channels. You can find us at Haunted Homebodies Pod. Until next time, and remember, when in doubt, just stay home.